Alright, the fly I'm going to tie for you today is a brown and orange bomber. Bombers were invented by Reverend Elman Smith from New Brunswick, and they're basically invented for trout in the early days, and turns out it's a fantastic salmon fly as well as a trout fly, and you can catch anything on these things. Anyways, we'll get this thing started. Alright, we'll get this thing going. We're going to do a natural looking bomber here today, and I'm using some UTC for my thread. I'm going to use natural tails and wings on it, and natural body with an orange hackle. I tend to use a little bit of deer hair that's not prone to spinning a whole lot, so it won't really flare up for my tails and wings, which is a little bit different than what you want for your body part when you're spinning it. I'm just evening my tips up here, put her in a stacker and get her looking a little better. Alright, so we'll get that tied in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go down and I'm going to tie my other wing in right away and just build a pretty good layer of thread here. Right down, just get that, and then I'll just do all the spinning. There's multiple ways of doing it. There's different styles of wings. I'm just going to do not a whisker style. This is just going to be like a, just a wing single post on either end. More traditional that you would see that, on the Miramichi, that where these things kind of were invented by the Reverend Elmer Smith. We have him to thank for these wonderful flies, and that's provided us a lot of enjoyment over the years. It was originally invented for a trout fly, and still works very good as a trout fly, but as well know it's a great salmon fly too now. Has been for many years. I remember going to New Brunswick with my dad as a young fellow, and the bombers were everywhere, and it was just a magical thing back when I was a kid to be up and around the Miramichi area and that world-renowned river. Alright, we'll get that wound into place. Now for the hair that I'm going to spin, I use the body hair, and it's a little more coarser, which helps in the spinning part of it. And I'll always, like I mentioned in other videos, I cut my tips off like that, and just spin the coarser hair. It's a good idea to clean out as much of that underdubbing as you can in your hair as well. So we're just going to build a few wraps here and get her. I like some contrast. I like to use a little bit darker hair on the tail and wing than the body, just because I think it just looks, the more contrast you can have, to me it's just more appealing to look at. Now, does the salmon think that? That's yet to be determined. And the minute one of you have a conversation with them and they tell you that, please do inform me on what their opinion is. Get another clump in there. These are just fun to watch. I mean, when these things are floating down the river and you're watching it, and then all of a sudden that raise comes up and wham, they got this thing, and then all hell breaks loose. Anyone that doesn't enjoy that, well, I feel sorry for you, because that's probably one of the most emotional things you can have happen while you're salmon fishing, is to watch a salmon come up and take a dry fly off the surface, and then that reel starts to tear and sing, and you hang on. Alright, I'm going to take this out. I'll try to keep it here in focus as best as I can. And I just go down and clip my body. I clip my path through to the tail. I use curved scissors again, which is basically the shape of the body that I clip, and just helps me to achieve the shape that I'm looking for, I guess, in the fly. I just continue to go around, follow my path around as best as I can, and get a consistent shape to it. And you can add, you can add your hackle at any time. Some people add it early, right on top of the first tail you tie in, and then they'll avoid clipping it off. As I mentioned in a few other videos, I always tie it in afterwards now because I've had some issues in the early days. I had a bug myself that was given to me that was one of my best bugs, and the hackle eventually broke off it. And I ended up sitting there tying it back on one day on a log on the river. Still work, mind you, but that kind of taught me something about hackles right then and there, to make them as durable and as tough as you can. I'm just going to pull that wing up out of the way to get my thread at it here again. And this is just the way I do it. There's multiple ways of doing it, and certainly however you decide to do it. As tyers, we kind of develop our own techniques, and we kind of borrow and give our techniques to other people, and we take some of theirs. And so we got an orange hackle tied in, and then I just run my thread down through the body of the fly. And the reason I do this is, just to make the fly so much more durable that it's gonna stand the test of time. And when a person that's on a trip somewhere that's in the middle of nowhere, and they're down to their last bomber and everything's going well, and the last thing I want them to do is, with one of my flies, is come and tell me that the hackle broke on the first fish, blah 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 blah. I don't want to hear that. And so that's the way I do it. And I've been fishing my own flies for years myself, and I know they stand the test of time. And we'll put a little bit of cement on that, and you just pull that wing back down and massage it a little, and there we have a bomber. And I can't say enough about these flies, man. Just to watch a salmon come up and latch on to that. There's one thing I do to my bombers. I always take the hook and I open it up, and to create more gap there, because as you spin your deer hair, you'll end up closing that gap up a little bit. I know people that'll offset them a little too, so when the fish comes up and rolls at them, if it spins sideways and they give the pull with it being offset, the theory is it goes in the upper or lower jaw. I just open them up, and I find that's worked very good for me over the years. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope it gave you a little bit of idea how to tie a bomber, and that you'll tie some for yourself and take them for a swim. Anyways, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.